Hey guys, how's it going? Just thought before I actually go into making the podcast, I'll provide a little market update on the BTC, XRP and Ether pairs as well, just before we really crack on with some more intellectual conversations in the podcast themselves. Now, yesterday I spammed the Telegram with lots of screenshots and loads of text, so I thought I'd just mix it up with a video today to make things a little easier for you all. And plus, there isn't too much to cover anyway, as the market has not moved too drastically. Now, I just wanted to go over the XRP, Ether and BTC charts because of these boxes here. Now, I've completely forgotten if I drew these in the last Wizard Wednesdays, if they were in a random breakdown, or if I done them somewhere else, but I do believe I covered these in one of the videos. So again, if you have remembered where these videos were placed, please let me know, because I do remember making a full-on video regarding these boxes and where we were confined in between. And there's a very interesting pattern to notice right now, is that we did in fact break out from this box on the 4 hour, especially for the BTC time frame. You can see a clear breakout, a spike to around 3,280 before dipping all the way down, touching the lower spectrum of this box precisely to that 4960 level before spiking back up, closing back above the box and slowly retaliating higher. And again, going over to XRP, as you can see once again, there was never an attempt to break out, hence the discussion on the correlations being a bit different than normal for the XRP pairs in particular. So as you can see with XRP, after breaking below, rejecting that trend line twice, we absolutely rocketed back to that 0.38 cents region, closing back within the box, consolidating, breaking out, closing back in, and we're now reacting as support once again, where we did once break out, hold as resistance, and then fall a bit lower before breaking back in. So as of now, especially on Ether as well, we are currently constricted between all of these ranges. So if I go to the daily, you can see now we've been constricted within this zone once again, and it does look like we are back within this region once more for BTC, Ether and XRP. So what's necessarily happening, and especially with Ether, this is a very in particular one, we saw a breakout to the upside, a retest precisely of that box region before climbing all the way back up to this zone, holding this level as resistance, breaking out, closing back in, and as of now currently looking like it could be pulling back ever so slightly to retest these regions again. So overall, what is actually good about these levels is we've now found a rational level of support and resistance and a constricted consolidative period where price can bounce in between, back and forth, and actually provide some excellent intraday opportunities to literally buy and sell within these range bounds. So as of now, this is looking fairly bearish, to be honest with you. It is looking like there could be another downside push to this level, so I may very well actually close out my position once again. And what I forgot to do last night, guys, I completely forgot to mention in the Telegram, if I just load this up very quickly, MT4 as well, as you can see, a breakout for BTC. However, we are in fact out of this box already, retesting and climbing higher, which does signify further what I stated yesterday in terms of BTC is seeming to actually break out way ahead of the market. And if we just wait for this to load now, we can see that it's running in $1,200 profit. So if I get rid of this is a US dollar Japanese yen short that's currently running, going over to BTC over here. So what I done yesterday was exactly what I covered in the Telegram. So going over here, provided you different scenarios of what to do with your stop loss if levels are breached, and also why you should keep a tight stop loss, because if price reverses, all you can do is go back, enter again at a better price, and literally make the journey all over again. So I closed out around $1,300 profit on that trade yesterday. Literally it spiked lower. I re-entered waiting for the right moment after moving my stop loss into profit, re-entered here perfectly at the lows, and as you can see, that entry was very precise indeed. Obviously adding the spreads, I did in fact enter here, and then we entered up there with the spreads. Bang, price absolutely rose. Even now with 1,224 profit, I could very easily close this trade and await another potential bounce to the downside as well. However, with this marked out here as well, we've got two little trend lines to take into consideration. So what I'm actually going to do, especially where price currently is, I'm just going to increase this ever so slightly. I was actually originally having my stop loss here with a 2,500 loss, but I think now that we are seeing price breach higher, I can potentially leave this down here for the time being. A very small loss with the same upside target still remaining. I am still hoping to see that region there. And now that I've closed off, especially on the daily time frame, guys, huge reversal signal. However, price spikes down, rejected that trend line over there, and it is now absolutely rocketed to the upside. So if I go back to this right now, as you can see, as long as I'm keeping my stop loss here and we see another retest or a spike lower, I close out in either a break even or a profit and I wait to catch another entry. But regardless, I do not see much of a risk coming from this trade. As you can see, there's a huge resistance level forming here, which has formed many times before and ultimately led to a major upside breakout. So I do believe this could just be another formation of that setup occurring as well. Adding a little Fibonacci to this as well. Very simple stuff. A, B, C, 78.6 met precisely. We now have upside targets of 5,346 and 5,434 located just above. Again, a breakout towards these regions of the Fibonacci levels. I do not use them too much right now because it is too volatile to really have them very precise. But looking at this formation here, A, B, C, D extensions up around this region could very easily be a breakout to this level, pullback, spike, and then continue onwards. Same goes for XRP, breaking out. I do not believe there's much of a fib right now, so I'm not paying too much attention to try and trade XRP, as BTC is showing a much cleaner price action, and so is Ether actually. Ether's looking fairly solid, very similar to BTC. Trendline in play, all looking pretty good for me right now. Just need to see that push and breach higher. Otherwise, things could of course get a bit threatening. The only thing that's really concerning me right now is the not daily time frame. Again, taking that into consideration, we do need to ideally break above these wicks to really propel us forward. But the only real concern for me is the weekly time frame. So looking at prior weekly timeframes that have seen very significant movements to the upside, you can have a major correction, well not major, but you can have around a 50% correction from the following weekly candle, which literally goes around 50% of the prior candle's body before excelling higher. As you can see, it can sometimes be a quarter, it can sometimes entirely engulf it, as the daily candle has. If I go back to MT4 and you look at the daily candle, very interesting, because what's happened is, if I zoom in, you can see that the daily candle on this platform actually melted all the way below, engulfing 50% of the 2-day prior candle before propelling higher. But as of now, MT4 and the Hugo's Way, aka the Bits for Next platform, is actually looking much more bullish than the actual TradingView platform. So using both as a confluence, as I was doing yesterday, we are seeing a pretty good telltale sign of what could be another move higher. Regardless of what happens, I could just move my stop loss into profit if things get a bit threatening, or I will just close my position out altogether. But looking at this now, this is a very similar movement. As you can see, price is now consolidating once again at a major resistance level. Clear breakout of this zone, and we are pretty much in easy territory to propel higher. So as of now, I'm just waiting for this to be broken. Potentially this level as well, breakout, retest around 5,200, and we are going straight back to that upside region. But again, just to touch on the potential downside factors, just using the weekly candle bias in mind, if we do see a weekly candle closure, which of course will be the end of today, as it is Sunday, currently 4 PM here in the UK. Should we see a closure anywhere from here or below this level, then we may have to take into consideration a tight stop loss in anticipation of a quarter to a 50% pullback moving on to next week before propelling all the way higher. Looking at a 50% pullback, guys, it correlates precisely with that level just there as well, which is around $4,600. Not too threatening in the real perspective of things, especially if I add this from the breakout technically to there. I think that makes pretty good sense. No, it doesn't actually make that much sense. Let's forget about that for now then. That isn't very valid. So looking at this overall, just taking that into factor, it could be a bit threatening, but overall I do not see any concern. I'm more than happy to hold this out. And looking at this right now, 48 minutes left on this 4-hour candle, rejections galore all day long, and for the sake of awaiting a potential move, actually what I'll do is I will be a bit safe. I will put this back down to around there, around 1200 risk, just because of the wicks that have been accumulating there. Should we see any threatening signs like a downside movement, I will probably just close out anyway regardless, but there are some trend lines to take into factor as well. A few indicators that are showing price could retest before breaching higher. However, for now, nothing too concerning. Let's just see how this unfolds. Profits looking good regardless as well. So again, we can cover this even further in the podcast. I have posted on Twitter if you guys want to vote or leave a little input on what you want covered in this week's podcast. Please feel free to do so. I'm more than happy to cover any of your requested topics as well. Once I get talking, I do not stop, so there's more than enough content to be covered for everybody's needs. Now guys, I'll see you in the podcast very shortly.